brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Hello and welcome to this Suds episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. I am one of your hosts here at the table, good old boy Mike. Joining me here at the table is good old boy Dave.
You talking to me?
Maybe. Probably not. It depends on how you look at it. And Reverend Mark.
Hello.
Oh, he just got through that with flying colors. I can't believe that. Our Suds segments are all about beer, and more beer, and this is our favorite things of 2014 Suds show. So definitely I am looking forward to this for sure. We've had a lot of beer that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to be tasting and discussing these beers and rating them with our Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Number one, not the model of this, but that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Number two, standing out, a host that no longer come back on our show was that a belch? Number three, always sitting here at the table, is Dave, infamous for what a relief. Number four is some of our new co-hosts that have joined us from across the pond and elsewhere. Body should really not make that sound. Also, what Juliana says to Dave on a routine basis.
Yes.
And, of course, there's what my lovely wife says, listen to that hang time, give me another. So those are the beers. Those are our Suds ratings that we'll be talking about today. We have had some really great beers for 2014, and today we're going to be talking about some of our favorite beers, and we're also announcing our nominees for the 2014 Good Belching Award, which I know most of you are very excited about that. You'll be able to vote on that on our Facebook site for the next few weeks. We'll talk about that at the end of our episode. Here's a short list of some of our top beers from 2014, but I'm sure we'll have a conversation that'll drift way off this list rather quickly, but these are some beers that we've had a chance to review right here on Sip, Suds, and Smokes. Prairie Ale from Prairie Ale. Prairie Bomb from Prairie Ale. 6 Points High Res. The Great Divides Hercules Double IPA. Three Floyds Apocalypse Cow. The Brewery Brian 1000, a great homebrew batch. Jolly Pumpkins I.O. Saison. Mikkeller It's Alive. Evil Twin Imperial Biscotti Break. The Brewery Bois 2014 Anniversary. Nebraska Brewing's Mélange à Trois. And rounding out this list is Against the Grain's Brown Note. So those are the top beers that we've had to talk about on this show. But like I said, I'm sure that we will drift off that list very, very quickly. We actually have most of these beers off that list that we've actually had here to enjoy while we're talking about this show. Mm-hmm. And a very good lineup, that's for sure. Each of us has probably tasted in excess of well over 5,000 beers. It seems like every year.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a mark, and then there's your mark, Dave, which is probably more like 11,382.
I go over and above whenever I can.
So it's difficult to say that there's really one beer that we really have, or frankly even a short list. And unfortunately, Juliana couldn't join us today. But there is no way on the free planet she could pick a beer. Everybody's special in her cellar, right?
She is. Yeah, she has a lot of favorite children down in the basement.
I love you all, but I'm drinking you tonight. So
pretty much.
Yep. At times I thought this list should actually be called the best, but maybe things are so good that you really I really want to try and describe the show as more favorite, or things that you should just not pass up if you run across them, more than anything. Yeah. So, We've had some really good times on the show, and here is one of those for you now. Welcome to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. This is good old boy Mike, and joining me for this episode is good old boy Chris.
Geuze.
Okay. All right. So listen, we have this episode coming up, Chris, and we've got to figure out how to say this beer that you've made for the GABF program correctly. And the correct pronunciation is in dispute, although we've both researched this, and I think it's Gose.
It's Geuze. Geuze,
I've called the Philadelphia Beer Authority. I've looked up the German Beer Society, and it says clearly on there. It says Rosea.
Oh, it's Geuze. She goes to the beach. Goes.
No, we're not talking about how somebody goes anywhere. This is about a beer.
No, but it's an easy pronunciation. It's Geuze.
If it's so easy, then why can't we get it right? Gotta get this right, man, because if our listeners don't know how to say this beer, they're going to walk up to a bar and they're going to go, I want a Gose, and see they'll get the right beer.
Oh, it's Geuze. So,
but there's not a bartender alive that would know what that would mean. But if they ask for Gose,
it's Geuze.
They would get the right beer.
Right, it's Geuze.
So I think we should say it correctly, which is Gose.
Geuze.
Look, if I was at a bar with a German sitting next to me, and I leaned over and I asked the German, hey, Günther, how do you say Gose? On Guten Tag, I would say Gose. See, that's exactly how I would say it.
It's it's Geuze.
Yeah, but see, that's the name of a river. That's not the name of a beer.
No, but it's Geuze though. It's like Rose. Geuze.
You said polka.
No, Geuze, not polka. Geuze.
Oh, well, Gose, just like I said it.
No, Geuze.
Boy, I tell you what, we've got to get this right. So, for this episode, we're going to call it Gose.
Well, you're bound to mess me up through this episode, and I'm sure I'll say it wrong.
Maybe we should
just because of this.
We should have more beer while we're talking about
I think so, but it is Geuze, so.
All right, maybe some more polka music. We thought that this actually might be the year of the sour, and while sour beers, toy boy. Well, sour beers have. I know, just cut me off.
This must be a show about beer.
Yeah. It's a show about beer for sure. Well, sour beers have dramatically increased in production. I'm not quite sure that I would call this the year of the sour. And I think one of the questions that I wanted to throw out for our quick discussion is, this was something we talked about quite a bit, and we really felt like sour beers were going to kind of come into their own for 2014. So a couple of questions here around this. One is, are there any sour beers that you had that you really felt like were just really amazing, this year?
Sure. And
what would you predict what is going to be kind of the breakout topic, for 2015 in the beer industry, either in the U.S. market or globally?
Well, when it came to sours, I had a lot of great ones. Obvious, won't lie about that. But for me, I think as it relates to sours, it was the year of the Gose. I'd never had that style of beer before.
Gose.
And
Gose.
And they're great. Yeah. Is it Gose? But that was the style of beer as far as sours go that kind of opened my eyes to what that could be.
And what's really sad with that, Dave, is that I had a conversation. I know she brought the Anderson Valley, Blood Orange Gose with you. And, the number of conversations that I've had people about that style, I just cannot get the Westbrook out of my head.
I love it. That's the best one.
I am telling you. And I actually have the original Gose reference style that was actually made in Belgium. I bought 2 or 3 bottles of that when I ran into it. And I actually tasted that right alongside some of these other ones that have hit the market, like from Golden Gate and Anderson Valley and Westbrook. I've had the one from Prairie Ale. It was only draft only.
Yeah. Cigar City had one.
Yeah.
A lot of people did it. Yeah.
It's just interesting, the measure of variability around that style. You know, there is something about I call it the saline quality of the salt in that beer is very difficult to try and get right.
Absolutely.
And many times I find that it's, I don't know, that's either too sweet or too watered down, or the salt, content it's a wrong kind of salt, know. And the thing I keep coming back to is with that Westbrook is it just has that mark of what I would describe as salinity, saline base, kind of salt content, where it's not abrasive, and it actually complements, and you almost, you want to have more than one of those beers.
It's balanced. I mean, that's the secret to all of it, is the flavors, the different flavors fall into line the way they should.
Yeah.
This hits you, then this hits you, then this hits you, and then you get the salt, and it carries you out,
Well, I really enjoyed, our entire discussion about, Gueuze's, beer with Chris Allen, who produced a really great homebrew version, of that, and actually used it, acidulated malt, as a souring agent, around that, as opposed to that is not how that beer is traditionally made, and yet his was just phenomenal for the style of ingredients that he used. I was just really blown away, and it was very unfortunate what happened, at GABF about his beer not being judged, but that didn't diminish, the quality of the beer that Chris produced, or I think hopefully it didn't discourage him from wanting to go after and compete in the Pro-Am, once again. So,
no, he's a competitor. He's fired up.
Yeah, very much so.
He will be out there. Yeah.
Reverend Mark, any great sour beers that you really thought were amazing this year, and what do you think is kind of the go-to, style or thing to watch out for 2015?
Well, I think I had many really good sours this year, some local, some, international. I kind of double back on the conversation we just had at another time about the GABF and how we were hovering around the Epic Elderbrett. That was one that I just wanted to snatch up a couple of bottles of, and it was just
cases.
A couple barrels.
So to me, that I'm just so impressed with Epic and how they've now expanded, from Salt Lake City, into Denver, and that they build all their beers. All breweries build their beers from the ground up, but they even build their water, in ways that are very interesting. So that would be one. I'd say, as I was looking through some of my notes for this year, another one that really has stayed with me was the Wicked Weed Serenity.
Now, this is a beer that I actually had before GABF, and it was actually a beer that they served at the media luncheon for the GABF as well, is when several of you actually had it all at the same time. The one of the great events that happened this year is Wicked Weed actually opened up a section of their facility called the Funkatorium, and I still think that Brandon Jones from Yazoo Brewing is pissed that they stole that name, because it is just it is so apropos of really a lot of what those beers have brought to the market. Wicked Weed has only been around for maybe 2 years that they've been producing beers, and what a great lineup of beers. Serenity is awesome and a great example. So I know that some of the other beers that they've had, the Bredicent is another great beer that they have in their sour line. It's like the quintessential Brett beer. If anybody had to tell me, what's the perfect Brett beer, I would say Bredicent, from Wicked Weed. It is just so good.
So maybe this wasn't the year of the sour, because, sour really, indicates more of like a lactobacillus or pediococcus.
Yeah.
Maybe this was the year of the funk. funky Brett beers because
Right.
everybody
I
is
agree.
brewing with Brett.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know?
I'd say another one of my favorites. I have a bottle, at least I have only one now. Was in 2014. Was the Boulevard Brett Saison.
Yeah. You and I talked about that, last couple of days, and we were talking about kind of how Duval is kind of settling in, and would we get to see anything that good, from Boulevard, once again. You had brought Love Child number 4, to kind of enjoy, that particular day, and yet our conversation kind of drifted over and started talking about the Brett Saison. Dave, you hit it right on the head, man. If I had to think about, of all the new sour beer that was released, if I had to pick, it was the year of the funk, not the year of the sour.
Yeah.
Because the Brettoire and the Brett period that was just introduced all over the place was really quite prolific. And, I really wonder if people are going to drift into more traditional, sours. It was... Well, the lambics are definitely, they're the ruling class right now, only in the sour line, itself, and yet there's so many other great sour beers.
Well, American wild beers are growing.
Yeah,
but I think it's a process. You can't take someone who a year or two ago was drinking Stella and get them to drink a lambic. You've got to take them into like flavorful IPAs and different things, and then you take them into tart beers. There's a distinction. There's tart beers, which are the Brett beers, and then there are sours. Something that makes you pucker up.
Right.
Yeah. So we all three of us, we made our progression. From what we were drinking before to opening up our minds and our palates to figure out that just because it's sour doesn't mean it's bad. It can actually be quite beautiful.
Yep.
I think also we're talking about how Chris Allen, was able to, ingeniously come up with this Gose that was just, first of all, it has to be served really fresh. It's not unlike a Berliner Weiss in that this is a beer that needs to, if you brew it today, it almost needs to be served tomorrow.
Low grav, gotta be fresh.
But also, aside from the yeast, it's a question of being able to introduce this kind of flavor profile to the average beer consumer that's not ready for anything like overwhelming. By being able to manage it on the grain side. So the acidulated malt then becomes a way in which you can say, okay, this time I'll add an extra 2%.
Yeah.
And you can start kind of just through gradations, adding more of that flavor. Also, of course, the acidulated malt and the lactic acid. You can others will use a little bit of lactic acid in the sparge to even add even more. You're really kind of playing with danger when you get into that, but if you do it right,
yeah.
Let me ask you this, Mike. We talked about the year of the funk, but this is something that we've all talked about throughout the year, and it's something we talked a lot about at the rare beer tasting and even throughout GABF. Would 2014 also have been the year of the barrel?
Hey, we'll be right back after we take a quick break and answer Dave's question about, is this the year of the barrel? Plus, get another great moment of our SUDS episodes from 2014. Listen to that hang time. Give me another. Good old boy Dave, what'd you think of Timmerman's Oude Gose here?
Yeah, as I was drinking this, I was thinking, if I closed my eyes and held out a glass and said, "Give me a Gueuze," this is one of the beers that I would really want.
Now, see, I saw you with your eyes closed, and I thought you were thinking, "Oh my God, thank God, good old boy Mike brought this beer. Oh, I can't believe he brought this."
Wow. You must have really long
delusions
arms to
of
be able
grandeur.
to,
Anyway.
to be able to pat yourself on the back
Hang on
that
a second,
easily.
let me deflate my ego here just a little bit.
How'd this guy get his head through the door? So anyway, back to the Gueuze.
Yes.
No, great job bringing this in. Seriously, Timmerman's is a really strong brewery. Anyways, I've had a few of their beers and everything's been really good. To go along with Reverend Mark, the acidity and the sourness is there. It's definitely there, but it doesn't dry you out as it finishes, and it's got a nice balance to it. And so, again, I'll go along with Reverend Mark, and I'll give it a 5.
Listen to that hang time. Give me another. Yeah. Little gal Juliana, what do you think about Timmerman's Oude Gose here?
Well, I, too.
Hope you enjoyed that episode of SUDS from 2014 and our best of show here. Now we pick up our conversation with Dave about 2015. Is this the year of the barrel?
No. I think that's really the topic that I would say was going to be for 2015. Mm-hmm. So the conversation that I remember that we had with a lot of brewers last year is, well, so what are you planning on doing? I'm going to increasing capacity. What are you planning? I'm increasing capacity. I want larger fermenters. I want another facility. I want more. More. The conversation this year was all about, hey, have you heard about our new barrel room?
Right.
And
so
have you
it's
heard
all
about our
gonna
new
carry
barrel
forward.
line? And, one of the conversations I had with somebody, even today before we kind of stepped here in the studio was that one of the more difficult aspects that is really kind of facing a lot of the brewers that are kind of heading into the barrel age, concepts is just the raw availability of barrels.
Barrel brokers.
They're just not. Yeah, they really are coming down to the point where used barrels are actually a real commodity right now, and so I think that at the same time, when you look at the influence that barrel aging is having on many different styles of beers, you can't help but look and say, wow, I really love, the future of what this is going to do in the brewing industry itself. It strikes me as a bit of a double-edged sword about barrel aging as well. The one thing is that I loathe the fact that people are lazy and draw very quickly of thinking that things are always going to be better in a barrel.
Right.
Beer that sucks that you drop in a barrel is going to be barrel-aged beer that sucks.
Yep. True.
And, that's one of the things that I guess maybe my palate is able to bob and weave, through a lot of these barrel-aged, projects and say the base beer itself was something that was very good to begin with. And so I think that's the reason why things are very good, in whatever they've done with it, in the barrel, is because the barrel they put in the barrel was actually very good, to begin with.
So you think probably this time next year we'll really be talking about what was good in a barrel versus, or like what people were doing in barrels.
Yeah, and I think there are going to be things that are going to be on what I would consider some of the barrel choices that people are using right now. I'm going to call it the beyond the bourbon era.
Yeah.
So, and I think at the Pied Piper of that line, it for me is going to be the one that I talked about earlier, which was the Mélange à Trois in a Chardonnay barrel.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I mentioned very briefly that Baume del Bacones, which is actually aged in a rum barrel. And many of the beers that I've actually enjoyed that I thought were fabulous in a barrel age were actually rum barrels. They were not bourbon.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every time, we get a hold of a barrel age, our conversation drifts really quick, which is that boozy or not? This is like the hang time on that is like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah. Do you get the vanilla from the bourbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even had something I can't lay my finger on it, but in a aged in a tequila barrel.
Oh, it was at GABF.
Yeah.
And it was. Oh man.
I'll let you think about that.
Yeah. Help me with that.
There's a lookout for Black Abbey. They're doing stuff in gin barrels. Too. So
they have a wide variety of barrels. Stacked. There in the brewery at Black Abbey from Nashville, Tennessee. In a crossover topic, is that when you look at how the vast majority of a lot of the bourbon is being made at MGP in Indiana, and how things are actually being aged now, I don't know that you can really say that you might call these the good old days, because I'm not so sure that concept of how things are even being barrel aged are going to hold a lot of traditional concepts. I don't know. You guys probably have not listened to this other show where we talked about one of the products that was being made on the bourbon side of the industry is that they're actually almost pressure cooking a bourbon barrel to actually force basically the bourbon into the wood from an aspect of just changing the pressure characteristics around it. And I was not a believer until I sat down and tasted it in a blind taste testing with good old boy Jason from the show, and I was just strangely surprised about how that went. And so I don't know how all that's going to work out around barrel aging, but I think to answer your question in a more concise way, yes, I think we'll be talking about barrel aging this time next year. And blending, I would say, would be probably the secondary topic right off that. We're going to have a show in the not too distant future about Cascade Brewing out of Oregon, and what a prime example of that conversation where they have no fermentation tanks at all at Cascade.
What?
Yes, they use all barrels, and it's all blending. Wow. And if you really talk about what I think might be, the concept of really bringing great blending into great beer making, they're probably right now what I think probably at the front edge of that conversation, because we've experienced some of that already. Sometimes it's been a hint of coffee, or it's been sometimes. I mean, one of my favorite beers is White Oak from the brewery, which is half blended. It's half of it's barrel aged and the other half is not.
Well, a lot of great lambics are blends too.
Great example. Well, real quick, the one sour beer that I really thought was quite amazing. It was actually on the show, and we had it here today, and I can't rave about it enough, and that is Prairie Ale's Prairie Ale. It's just like the diehard go-to sour ale. I mean, I could drink that beer almost nearly every day. It is just so good. It's just really fabulous.
Those guys are amazing.
I think the other one that's very close to that is I get in a lot of conversations about when are you guys going to talk about Cantillon and on the show, and which is, if you don't know what that is, it's a beer that's produced in Belgium. It's a Belgian brewery, and it's turning into a bit of a unicorn, and it's a kind of a beer geek kind of thing.
If someone wants to hear us talk about it, please send us 3 bottles, and we will talk about it.
So it is a little difficult to get a hold of, really good Cantillon. But, just the concept of, Gueuzes and lambics in general were not really a very hot, style even 4 years ago. You could walk up and buy, a Craig or a lambic, for just like $4. That was, a bomber. And today, for $40, you still can't even find that beer.
Yep.
So there's something about artificial inducement. There's one Gueuze that I really that is here today that I always love coming back, and people ask me what's my favorite Gueuze. We happen to taste it this year on the show, and that's Timmerman's limited edition Gueuze. It is just a fabulous Gueuze. It's something you can find. It's something that's not a unicorn, and I have been in many, many sour tastings, and I've been in plenty of Cantillon tastings as well. I will tell you, I will pick that Timmerman's all day long and twice on Sunday.
Yes.
It is that good. And I'm so glad that we were able to have some of that here today as well. Well, we're swinging around to our last topic of the day, which is our nominations for the Good Belching Zone Award. It's a great, it's an award that we have here on Sips, Suds, and Smokes. The Good Belching Zone Awards is an honor, nay, a privilege, of less than honorable establishments. But there are lots of great places to enjoy a pint, but only a few are worthy of being a good belching zone. So here they are in no particular order for 2014. The Mikkeller Bar in San Francisco, California. Bridge Taproom in St. Louis, Missouri. The Holy Grale in St. Louis, in Louisville, Kentucky. That's sad. And Rattle N Hum in New York City are 4 nominees for Good Belching Zone Awards for 2014. Now, I've been actually to all these places. And I know many of you have been to a few of these places as well.
Well, I've actually been kicked out of 2. And there's a third one that I may be banned from, depending on how the video turns out.
I am not going to represent you in that, Dave, because I'm laughing my head off too much going, I don't know that gentleman. The one thing I want to mention is I don't want you to forget about our past nominees and our distinguished winners already in this category that I wanted to mention here as well. The 2012 winner is Craft Brewed in Nashville, Tennessee. Yay. We're so happy. Chip is a great friend, and he and Maggie are really great proprietors. They just happen to be here in Nashville, Tennessee, where we record quite a few shows here in Nashville as well. Our 2013 winner is the Blue Monk in Buffalo, New York, home of the greatest mussels on the face of the free planet on U.S. soil. Really great place. Should always avail yourself if you get an opportunity to visit either one of those Good Belching Zones or any of our past Good Belching Zone nominees, which I'm sure a couple of those are they're going to cycle back around and be considered, because the one that was a past nominee and that we got to spend some time at is the Cheeky Monk.
Monkey?
Mm-hmm. In Denver, Colorado. And it was great that we had our event for GABF there. Go back and check out that episode if you'd really love to hear a bunch of fools with microphones. I'm not talking about just Dave.
And despite what you may have heard, I was not escorted out.
So I know you guys have been to a couple of these places. What are some of the things you remember about some of these?
Well, I remember actually being with you, good old boy Mike, and at the Bridge Taproom in St. Louis, and I just it was a nice reprieve, if nothing else, from a conference in which we were beerless otherwise, except for the one night I got to bring in some of my home brew. So I was very impressed with the Bridge, as well as its menu, its other menu besides the beer menu.
The thing that strikes me about Bridge is it's just a great place, and it's a great wine room, and their food is just phenomenal. Their charcuterie plates are probably some of the best ones that I've ever been able to just buy at a bar. But the thing that really kind of pushes them into this category of being nominated is the staff. And the selection of products that they have at the Bridge Tap Room. I really love the combination of people with good information with people with good products. Yeah. And it just really turns into a win-win situation. They have great location. They have just a really great tap room there. And, for a place that maybe not everybody's a beer lover, I think it's just a great place, for a lot of people to go. There are a lot of great places there in St. Louis, that I had the pleasure of going to this year. The Bridge Tap Room, it was just easy. I remember sitting at that bar for like the first 10 minutes going, wow, this is easily a nominee for Good Belching Zone, hands down. And I've probably been back at least a dozen times since then. So, great place.
Due to pending legalities, the only one of the four that I can currently speak on is the Holy Grail in Louisville. That's where we went for Swan's Day. And the decor is incredible. The people are knowledgeable. The beer selection is second to none, and the food is excellent. It is a complete experience. It's a great place to be. Anytime you're in Louisville, which is a great beer town, the Holy Grail should be a destination.
Yeah, I mentioned the Holy Grail just a few minutes ago as the place where, one of my favorite beers of all time, at least 2014 was. I also enjoyed the fact that they have the choir loft, which is a separate a bar unto itself with different kinds of taps going on.
It reminds me a lot of the Belgian bar at Indicator, Yeah,
at the Brick Store.
Brick Store, yeah. A very similar concept, where they actually have I don't want to say it's a super secret place, but they have a different beer selection, up there, and just a really great place. And it's just it's unfortunate that Zane was supposed to join us, for this discussion today, because I know that he frequents, the Holy Grail quite a bit, and we've, several of us have been there, several times. Just to find a place that is of that quality in Louisville, Kentucky, is really, I think, what stands out. Is I think a lot of people think you really have to go to New York City or a large metropolitan city in order to have a really, really, really great, bar. And you don't have to look any further than actually our past winners, to really see that is not the case. Who in the heck would pick Buffalo, New York, as having a fabulous place to go, or even Nashville, Tennessee, and yet it's very, you're finding that people have, great capability of actually producing some great experiences. I wanted to talk about a couple of these others on here that I don't know that either of you have had the pleasure of going. I would say one of the highlights for me this year was actually completing what I call the Family Feud trifecta. So it was really great. So we created the Family Feud edition this year in the conversation between the two brothers, Jeppe and Mikkel, who are the two brewers between Evil Twin and Mikkeller Brewing. And so one nominee last year was Torst, which is in Brooklyn in the Greenpoint area. And this year, I actually got to go to the flip side. I got to go to Mikkel's place, the Mikkeller Bar in downtown San Francisco this year. And it was a great day. I remember the day really well because I remember I got off the plane and I went directly to, I want to say the City Bar or the City Store. I'm sorry, I can't quite remember the name of the place, but it's a really great bottle shop. They have, really great, growlers on tap, and I really love the staff there. But I could not wait to get down to Union Square and, get, to the Mikkeller Bar. And I kind of, paced myself to actually get there so that I'd be there, maybe a little bit later in the day and enjoy a meal, kind of was there as well. What a highlight, for, to actually go there. It was a trip that I had to pay for, on my own, and I didn't get to go there, at the guests of the establishment. I won't tell you how much money I blew that day. It was an insane amount of money, and I really had a very good time. I thought what struck me as the interesting parallel against Torst is that flux capacitor technology that is used in Torst, so the ability of actually controlling the CO2 as well as the temperature of the tap line to try and tailor that directly to the beer, is something that they have in the Mikkeller Bar as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really great that they're able to you have that same experience that you would have at the Torst Bar in terms of the the quality of the beer, in the Mikkeller Bar itself. Finding places in San Francisco that are of any size is a real luxury because, much like New York, real estate is very expensive. And I found the vast expanse of the size of the Mikkeller Bar was really unusual. And yet, probably no less than, in a matter of 45 minutes, it was standing room only. And it was beyond the it place, after work. I think that they could easily triple the size of that place, and it would still be standing room only. And it really struck me the diversity of the crowd of the people that were in there as well. On top of that, you just had really great beer, and there were, I don't know how many taps they had. I want to say at least 30. The food was excellent. The thing that struck me the most, again, is the knowledge of the staff at the Mikkeller Bar. There were good brewers that were right there, in front of you. And there were good beer sommeliers that were there on the staff, at the Mikkeller Bar as well. And I had a lot of respect for not what they did with me in terms of helping me select, but I actually watched how they interacted with many of the other patrons that were in the place and how well they were able to take, people that were going, do you have something that's like Blue Moon? And no, I don't. I don't have anything like Blue Moon.
Well, it's liquid. That's the same.
Here's an orange wedge. Go outside. Go down the block. No, they were really incredibly patient, and I think that they were able to help some people transverse what I think for many people would be a rather intimidating, draft menu.
Yeah.
The last place on here is Rattle N Hum that we didn't get to talk about, and I've been to Rattle N Hum, quite a bit. They actually have a sister bar called the Beer Authority, which is in another selection actually closer to Times Square. The Rattle N Hum is very close to the Empire State Building, and I've been to Rattle N Hum quite a bit, over a number of years. There are a lot of great places in New York, but there's something about Rattle N Hum that has some of the same characteristics. I would say the thing about Rattle N Hum is the consistent nature and quality of the beer that they get there, and their commitment to cask beer is really quite extraordinary. If I had to pick a couple of places that I think are the Pied Piper of offering cask beer, I would say probably at the top of my list would be Rattle N Hum and Blind Tiger in New York City. They consistently always have a cask beer available, even like on a Tuesday, that week. It's not like they only do it for the weekend or something like that. And actually, Rattle N Hum does a couple of things where they'll actually bring in a rack of cask beers, like 9.
Wow.
That they'll have, for a particular event. Couple that with some really great food. Space is a rather interesting concept there at Rattle N Hum. I had somebody really grab-ass me, pretty hard, in Rattle N Hum. I thought they were going for my wallet, but I'm like, no, that cheek is empty, buddy. So it was, and even then it was a woman. I'm like, okay, all right, I got to come back here. This place rocks. So sorry, honey. I don't know who did that, but I was just walking through there. It was an innocent bystander. But all really great places, and so the voting for the Good Belching Zone Awards will be open all during the month of January. You can vote on those on our Facebook site. It's pretty easy. Just you'll hop right on there. Just click the one you want, hit vote, and that's it. We'll announce the winner of that in February of 2015. Well, just a really great conversation all the way around, and I really thank you for joining us for probably an extended conversation for many of you. If you didn't get to listen to this all in one fell swoop and you kind of broke it up, I understand, but it was a lot of great topics that we had to cover for 2014 as well. I think the thing I'm looking forward to is, holy crap, man, we've had a great time and some really good beer, and I'm looking forward to 2015. We've had a lot of great hosts on this show for all of our segments, but our SUDS hosts are just, man, you guys rock the house, so thank you.
Sir.
It's a high point of my month every time.
I'm sorry, I wasn't talking to you, Dave, but anyway.
No, I was just saying those other guys are really good.
You want us to talk about the video review, yeah. Anyway,
Wow.
Well, let's wrap up for today. Now that I've insulted Dave, we can get on with it. Thanks to all of our listeners here at Sips, Suds, and Smokes. You can catch all of our episodes online anytime on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Uncle John's Basement, and Spreaker, our native media host. Our terrestrial radio stations are threatening to take us off the air at every single time until they open up that care package from us. And they go, wow, that's great beer. Should leave those guys on. If you would like to hear this show on your favorite radio station, threaten that programming director with another case of your favorite beer and send them a note and copy us as well. You can reach us online anytime at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every single day at SipsSudsSmokes. And our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. Listen, we did not ask you to do anything to enjoy this episode today, or contribute or listen to our sponsors, because we don't have any for this show. But listen, do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us. We get to see your feedback as well. I really appreciate it. I want to thank my co-hosts for being here for this great conversation and for always being great hosts here on Suds. Dave, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mike. Hit me up at Leave the Cork In at Sips, whatever it is.
SipsSudsAndSmokes.com.
There you go.
Dave's fan mail, definitely for sure. Reverend Mark, always a pleasure.
Hey, great being here.
Always great having both of you here. It's unfortunate Juliana, our other perennial host, was not able to join us for today. But I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us once again. This is good old boy Mike S.
This has been a one-tan-hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.